podcast. Oh, we couldn't be more excited to have some illustrious, is that the right word? Guests.
I don't know.
What does that word mean? Anyone know what illustrious means?
Amazing.
Chime in.
Just gorgeous.
Somebody with a significant past, good credentials, illustrious.
Do you feel that's suitable?
No.
I'm thinking of a peacock. Some sort of peacock.
This
I think that's just lush.
this is the Peacock podcast.
I feel like Peacock, though, they don't have much credentials. That's why it's called peacocking, because they're just showing off without actually any substance.
Have you seen those tail feathers? That's
Yeah.
credentials.
Yeah, that's true.
But they were born with them.
Yeah.
They didn't make them.
So they're
That's just born into privilege.
That's
they're
peacock
they're
privilege.
nepotistic birds. Are you saying the peacocks are
Yeah.
the epitome of nepotism?
Welcome to the Vibe UM podcast.
Hello.
A show all about
Peacocks.
peacocks, mainly.
Welcome to the Diversity Podcast. And
That will be the only time that joke is made.
yes, and before we get started, speaking of, I just wanted to acknowledge the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation. I think it's, as I say, every podcast, it's important to understand, acknowledge that we are conducting ourselves on stolen ground. Sovereignty was never ceded, treaties were never signed. We're very lucky to be here in this country, on this land that's been curated and looked after by the true custodians of this land for tens of thousands of years. And we're lucky here to come and have guests on our podcast and talk our words, talk our stories, talk about ourselves, talk about things when so many First Nations people throughout history and up until this day have had their stories, words and experiences silenced and ignored. And also I just want to acknowledge the Palawa people of Lutruwita, which was the First Nations people of Tasmania, where I unfortunately grew up. So,
Beautiful.
yes.
We have here with us, we got Dilly Dave. How are you, mate?
Yeah.
We got Maadstork. How are you, mate?
G'day, mate.
Yeah, sweet. I'm right.
I'm here too. Thank you. Right.
Jason.
Hello.
Boys, you've been going to a lot of open mics.
Well, not recently, but
Oh,
Okay, well,
that's the only thing. That's the only thing.
well
I
done,
had.
Rye started off strong, so we'll talk about
I went to one like the 14th of April, and then I went to one about 2 weeks ago with Dave.
Jesus Christ.
So
My
we-
minimal
bit
amount
of
of
a
research
dry
was
patch.
terribly
Was
We,
last
uh,
week, yeah.
oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, then,
Which was last week.
where was this? Where was this open mic, and how was it? And
You take it away.
Dun, 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 dun. Thornbury Local,
huge.
High
a good
Street.
one.
It is a good one. Shout outs to Kate. Shout outs to Dave. Shout outs to Alex, and everyone else there.
Yep.
so, what type of open mic is it? Is it just anything goes, or
Yeah, it certainly is. It's funny because Thornbury Local is actually the arch nemesis of you guys because it runs on the Wednesday nights. So it's in direct competition.
Oh, sure.
To-
Well, we're actually in direct competition with a couple of open mics.
I know,
Yes.
I have a few arch nemesis
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
so it's fine.
Okay.
And I wouldn't say we're threatened by any of them.
But the atmosphere, it's very singer-songwriter.
Okay.
Ruben and I often feel like oddballs doing our thing there. But every 6 months or so, I get a DM from this guy from Maadstork, and he's like, "Dilly, what are you doing? Are we doing the Thornbury Local?
Are we Thornbury?
And
it
yeah,
up?
I have to say yes because any opportunity to hit an open mic is ideal for me.
No, how's it going, Dave, or anything like that? Just like Thornbury Local open mic tonight. Be there,
He puts me on blast.
you know.
How do you find the doing?
doing
We're
of
not.
things.
We're all of us are doing unorthodox, nerdy rap, but nonetheless, people.
dare you.
Speak for
Wait,
yourself.
How,
This is,
how fucking dare you?
you disagree?
I got described as Hilltop Hoods-ish once.
Yeah, but that was probably
I think that's.
it's probably through ignorance.
I don't think
though.
that takes away from what I said.
So that was amazing. I was like, fuck yeah, I made it.
I didn't know your mother knew Hilltop Woods.
Oh, got him.
Hey.
Got him.
No,
There we
straight over my
go.
head, straight over my head.
Which was quite a compliment because, I'm from New Zealand, so I was just
Yeah.
like, fuck yeah, that drunk guy nailed that. I was like, that one drunk guy in the bar, the only audience member. I was like, fuck yeah, he knows me well.
I like that in your artist bio. Random drunk guy quote. You sound Hilltop Hoodish. You're like,
Yeah.
use that for grants.
But
I
you
think,
need to
yeah.
practice more. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But the Thornbury local is cool. It's got a really good setup there, and often like quite a reasonable, engaged audience. I think it's the venue's built well around like this open mic kind of stage, and I think people who go there are very aware of what's happening, and there's a lot of like respect and attention that happens if you go up as a performer. So that's really cool.
So I was going to say, like, because we talked this before. We did an open mic a while ago at Red Betty, and I think you and I were the only ones that did the rap thing, which is fine. But it's just so like, how's it? Yeah, so like, how is it like rapping and kind of stuff compared to the rest of it? Because I kind of see like if it's not an open mic, say like you know, or like like something like Shot Kickers or something, it seems like it's not the ideal place for it. But if it's a nice place to do it, then
I think my goal with songwriting is always or with music is always to write a song as good as like an acoustic artist.
right, okay.
So, and I think, I think it's well received if you put the time and the effort, and you respect the venue and people, and I don't. Yeah.
I think so. Look,
That's
if
a bit of a
you're
convoluted
if you're
answer.
No,
doing
it's fine.
if you're doing hip hop and you want to go to open mics, you have to understand that the default flavor of open mics is singer-songwriter, generally acoustic, a little bit stripped down, and that's kind of what it is. I guess, for me, it's all about why am I going to open mics? And I'm not going to open mics to perform to hip-hop crowds. I'm going to open mics to work on my craft. And my craft is how I do my shit on the stage, and it doesn't matter the stage, and it almost shouldn't matter the audience. And I think what you said, Maadstork, about the songwriting. Like if you can create some songs that are a little bit more accessible to people that are outside of just a hip hop crowd, then that's cool. And open mics are a great place to test that. But I would love to see more open mics that were more around specifically hip hop and stuff, because it can be hard. And Ryan and I were actually talking about this last night, like the bridge between somebody who's starting off and getting onto a stage, like whether it's Bar 303 or Shot Kickers or whatever it is. It's like it can be hard to bridge that gap between being confident on even knowing how to operate on a stage with equipment, right?
I feel that because I said when I first started, I served Vibe and stuff, and it was
Live
Bird, yeah. And I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. It was YouTube beats and writing stuff to it. But yeah, I think for me, if I look at or I think about hip hop, like open mics or whatever, specifically it is stuff like Shot Kickers, which is kind of open mic, but it's all freestyle, which is different to I've got a song or two that I want to do.
You can't test your material.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's a good point. Well made, Dilly.
Well, when I started, I was just going to.
Well, kiddies.
I've got to,
When I started this shipping
it's probably COVID, so I'll have the last laugh. It was
already got him.
Can I kick it? And then Grumpy's, and it's just you get up there and you freestyle like a motherfucker, and it's amazing. But then you get to a point where you're like, oh well, I want to write some songs now, and then you want to go test your song somewhere, and then you start going to open mics, and then you're like, oh shit, I got to write songs as good as these people or as good as these fucking covers that everyone's doing, right? So I think, there's a time and a place for everything. And I think, the wonderful thing about Shot Kickers is you could go up there and do writtens.
You could try and squeeze them in,
like a boss, but it's pretty difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, there has been incredible nights for the hip-hop community in Melbourne, starting with Can I Kick It, which is how I met you. And then the dojo, which we've all been to, and Shot Kickers currently, or Don't Sweat the Technique is what the name of the night is.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I would say that probably less than half of hip hop artists are looking to go and freestyle in public on a mic doing the
Totally.
thing, you know? I think most people are actually like, I just want to do my tracks.
Yeah.
So, you touched on a good point there, Maadstork, when it comes to like, if you go to an open mic, there's a particular standard. You get to, you're actually exposed to what some really good artists could look like and sound like. And it almost doesn't matter what genre it is. It matters that you can identify what's happening in the scene. It gives you like some kind of standards and benchmarks to work with, and also a cool opportunity just to like connect with people in that space. So yeah, I think the open mics are so important for somebody who wants to be stage ready and who wants to be ready with like their 20 or 30 minute set. Because, I mean, there's only so much good that you can get out of practicing that shit in your room or in the garage.
Totally. I think, I like spend so much time in my room working on music, but it's not until I go to an open mic or go to shot kickers and, bust your guts that you actually, learn the flavor of the music that you're working on.
I feel like also in those scenarios, because we're obviously more. It depends on if people are actually listening to our music that are watching this, but we're all lyrically focused and doing performing the songs that we write at a open mic night that is predominantly folk musicians, or also doing it here at Radio Bar for the poetry night where you don't have your beats at all and you're just doing it a cappella, is very daunting, but also allows you to focus in on the lyrics and try and see how are these going to be responded to by an audience with nothing else. So when I can't really ride the vibe of just this classic bang and beat and just ride this energy wave, you have to make sure that your lyrics themselves are also standing on their own.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think though, like it is about the music though. So, we can talk about songwriting. I think you got to focus on how musical it sounds, and obviously having great lyrics is really, really important. But
Well, how do you? Because you perform your raps here a cappella. How do you? Well, so what do you get out of it? Basically, actually doing it a cappella at a poetry night.
Tell them why, Ruben.
I don't know which one of you guys invited me down, and then I came down and I was like, this is amazing. I think the reason I like this open mic at Radio Bar, Radio Talk, run by Vibe Union, shout out.
Shout out.
Shameless plug now. The audience and the people who participate, it's just a good... it's a good kind of slice of Melbourne and the kind of culture that I like of Melbourne as well. So I'm just really appreciative that it's a safe space for people just to come and, share what they're doing.
I like when... I like making my same joke every time I introduce Ruben, which is fun. But yeah, I enjoy the fact that when you come up and read your...
What's the joke?
Everyone, please welcome to the stage my favourite and tastiest of sandwiches, Ruben.
Beautiful,
yeah.
Thank you.
And then people like, you can't say that if you're straight. And I'm like, I can.
Wait, what?
Apparently, I'm not allowed to say that. Anyway.
Because of this particular sandwich?
Because I'm saying another man is tasty. Apparently, I'm not allowed to say that.
That's so okay.
Anyway,
Interesting.
I very much appreciate the fact that we'll have 3 or 4 poems that are pretty heavy or whatever, and then Ruben comes up and reads his lyrics, which is a completely different style to a lot of others, but everyone's still enjoying it, laughing, engaging, and accepting of it, and then. And then we move, and then we go to the next poet, which goes back into obviously poetry more than anything else. But it's not out of place at all. No one will go, oh, well, that was a bit odd.
I think it's a great taste for people. Because actually, saying that it is musical. The focus when writing lyrics is this is going to be with music, and so you can also get away with like when you're writing a poem. You don't have to do this, but you're really trying to convey a very particular message usually, or like really you're illustrating a story. You can walk people through it a bit more.
Yeah.
While lyrics, you can kind of scatter things throughout the track that don't even need to. They might just kind of feel more thematic and more world building than anything, rather than trying to say a particular thing. I mean, there's obviously hip hop tracks that are story driven or really trying to say something, but you can be a bit more esoteric. I think when you've got backing music, it doesn't have to be hip hop. It can be folk music, psych, anything, whatever you're doing. But getting to kind of do that as poetry is, I think, well, it's a totally different way of approaching writing, and I think gives people more freedom to make a poem that doesn't necessarily have to have a strong, not a strong message, because it has a strong message, but it's not like trying to say something to you right now, if that makes sense.
I'm actually so surprised that you said it's it's a lot more about the music or music driven. I guess your sentiment for doing the poetry or doing your lyrics here at Radio Talk seems to be, I'm more here for the community and the vibe and the feeling and the energy in the room. I'm not here for me and my material. But I think when you do, like when I find when I do, bars or lyrics stripped down just on their own, and you can pull that off somehow, that's something that's wild, because I think you're also memorizing it in a different way. You're like really solidifying these words deeply in your head when you're delivering it in that context, and it's a different kind of pressure. It's literally weight on the words. There's weight to those words, and it's an incredible skill to be able to do it with your own innate rhythm, that you can kind of keep it going with, and it does become musical even if you're doing it without music or a backing track. And I've found that if you can deliver your lyrics, stripped down with nothing else, and people are reacting to the things that you're saying, I mean, what other validation or verification could you want for being like, okay, I'm writing something that's at the bare minimum interesting, and you would never be able to like recreate that scenario where people are analyzing your lyrics without any backing music or anything like that. So I'm surprised that you have that kind of perspective.
Well, I guess I guess I was talking about other open mics, but I think the structure. I haven't. I think it's really hard to write a good poem, and so I'm not even going to attempt to do it ever.
But your songs are poetry.
No.
Dude.
But, well, I mean, here's the thing. So there's a format to the songwriting. So if you just stick to that kind of framework, right? And so that's the framework. So that's the structure you have to work with, right? So you can do whatever within that framework, but ultimately that framework is a musical framework or a musical template. So when you come up here and do an a cappella song, well, it's going to sound like music because it has to sound like music without music, because you've written it in a musical kind of framework.
Yes and no. I mean, poems have cadence, right? Like people can deliver poetry with cadence, tonality, some kind of variation in pacing or sound, and for me, it's actually a cool space to figure out what that is and find ways of delivering that you wouldn't have actually explored at all, because it's a standalone thing. It's not actually tied to a BPM or, bars or whatever. And, when you deliver your lyrics, here without any music, it is certainly musical, but I think that you would you're changing your delivery as well. There's no way you're delivering it the same way.
100%. I think you learn stuff as well. You're like, okay, that sounds a little bit out. So if it sounds out now and I'm not really, rapping it, then it's definitely going to sound out when I'm rapping it.
Well, actually, look, I think that, rapping it over the instrumental or whatever could hide something that is a little bit out. But once you take all of that away, you actually get to have this insane critique that you would never really experience before.
Yeah, 100%.
I think doing these kind of pieces with a lot of space to breathe, even actually, even if you have got music, I really enjoy, and more recently, rapping in a more spoken word type of way over really sparse, chill, slow as fuck beats. Yeah, actually, your BPMs that you choose are fucking stupidly slow. It's crazy to me.
They don't start that way, do
Well,
they,
don't-
Ruben?
yeah, exactly. That's right.
It's not a problem at all. But every time I've seen the BPMs you're working with, I don't know.
It's not a problem at all, but it's fucking
No.
stupid. You fucking idiot. Fucking.
A couple of years ago, I was like, I just want to do fast stuff. I just want to play at like hippie music festivals and do like
Yeah.
that kind of classic. I just want to like almost like old school hip hop. And then I was just like, the shit is just too dense. And then I'm like trying to fit so much into this kind of hectic kind of beat. And then I think, coming here and doing stuff that's a bit slower than having space to, articulate what you're saying and stuff like that has gone, you know what, if I just slow it down a little bit, I can kind of sink into the track a bit more.
Yeah.
I can kind of swing with it a bit more. So, yeah. Props to Radio Talk. No.
Props to the process.
No, I was gonna say, it's not quite rapping, but yeah, I noticed when I like slowed down my poetry a little bit, because I'd always just, I speak very quickly and chaotically sometimes. I know that's hard.
It's funny because I've noticed in this particular episode you were by far the most calm I've seen you.
Oh, well,
on
because
the
I
podcast
don't know
in
what
a
the
long
fuck I'm
time.
talking about, so I can't interrupt right now.
I like it.
I'm always a calm little boy.
Maybe he's got residual
Incorrect.
stoner energy.
Residual Stoner, that's the name of my next album. It's just not too bad. No, but I noticed that, when I start slowing my poems down and stuff and doing open mics or competitions and shit, it's like, I can actually get more, you can get more into it because there's only so far you can get with angry chaos in a poem because of going to like slammer competitions. I'm like the only trope that I had was just being loud and quick and rhyming, and I was like, you know what, it's gonna fade out quickly. So I was like, I need to change up what I'm doing, and you can kind of get far more out of it which is annoying because my brain just wants to do everything just in triple time. Except when it comes to rapping, because I'm like, I'm not good enough to do that. So
Actually, I think you're quite good at writing.
just in general, or
Quite good at writing. First of all,
You should see my love letters.
but you give a lot of space on the beats. I think.
Yeah.
You, especially when
Yeah.
it comes to like your hooks and stuff like that, you like to kind of fit a vibe. I think more than like provide this huge dense chunk of words. Though I've seen you provide a dense chunk of words when necessary, but like for the most part, you kind of let the track breathe as well. Which I can't speak for you guys, but listening to your music, it reminds me of the way I approach writing and the way that I feel a necessity to feel. Actually, you just said it as yourself as well, that you feel a necessity to just. You got a lot of words to say. You got a lot of words to put on the page.
Maadstork's the OG filler.
I'm getting way better.
OG filler.
I'm getting better.
I can't remember where I've heard it, but I've definitely heard that like not that I think of any of us as necessarily like we're like fast rappers. I think we're dense rappers, but we're not like trying to be.
We don't double time
high
all the
speed.
time,
No,
or
we're not doing triplets and as much and shit like that.
oh, we're doing triplets when it's
We're
trap.
definitely doing triplets.
Okay.
As soon as you learn
we do
triplets,
triplets.
you never hear anything else.
Yeah, they call me the triplet boy.
They don't call you that.
seriously.
They don't call you that.
Yeah, it's like
They call him Trippy Threat.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm the trippy boy.
Mate, triplets are amazing. Learn triplets if you don't do them already.
All right, I'll take everything back. Don't worry about it.
Let's wait till we get to quintuplets and we're fine.
Yeah. What's a quintuplet?
4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going into the like the idea
Just
of
double time, no, quad.
Just double time, innit?
I don't know.
of writing with the
Probably
idea
should.
of space
Yeah.
or negative space or whatever you want to call it, however you want to frame it. I think that's something I honestly truly learnt from doing, spoken word and poetry stuff, because that's all you have. There's words and there's space, and the contrast between the two and the placement of these words or whatever is, it's so interesting, because you need time for things to settle in. Otherwise, people can't keep up with you. Like, people can't keep on your track. They don't understand. Like, and like at the start, you said that we're a little bit more lyrically focused.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, wouldn't you hate for too many things to fly over people's head?
100%. Give them space so they can actually be each element can be focused on. I was mixing a couple of tracks today for an upcoming project, and I was struggling to find how to fit all these pieces together for the instrumental mix. And I know this rule. I forget to follow it all the time, but I know the rule of like if you're trying to add stuff to make things work, start by stripping things out that don't need to be there, and suddenly things will make a lot more sense. And I did exactly that. There was a particular vocal chopped sample that was happening twice a bar, and I took half of it out. Every half bar comes, whatever. And suddenly there was this guitar line in the back that I had forgotten was there. Now it had room to breathe. And then when the vocal sample came in, you were like, oh, now I'm focusing on this. Now I'm focusing on the guitar sample. Now, everything has a bit more space to actually breathe.
That's my approach to doing ad libs. Is you do like 4 or 5 times the amount of ad libs, and then out of that you find truly the right ones.
Yeah.
And it's often quite minimal what you're adding. You sprinkle a tiny bit here and a tiny bit there, and it's way more impactful than this like wall of sound.
Yeah. Wall of sound is or wall of words or what have you. Wall of anything is in the right setting can be pulled off. I don't want to actually like discredit the
idea of building a wall.
The concept of it,
A wall in general. Walls are just a concept.
Yeah.
They're a social construct, and they're just a barrier in our mental psyche.
Powerful.
I think it's interesting because when you go to listen to a song, often you're hearing the music. You're not going.
Yeah.
You're not really hearing the lyrics or whatever. You know what I mean?
True.
So that's the thing you need to get right first, because that's really bringing the person to that song or that piece of music.
100%.
So then I think if someone's just enjoying the music, and then they might go, oh fuck, there's some lyrics here, and then they start kind of listening to the lyrics. So yeah.
And you're right, that's probably going to happen on like the second or the third or the fourth listen.
Yeah.
Super rarely is that going to happen the first time. And it's funny, like, it seems that our focus, as we kind of just stated before, is, we get weird about the words, you get a little bit nerdy and stuff about that. And that is like to an extent quite self-serving, we're trying to impress ourselves more so than anybody else with that. And that's cool. Like, I mean, that is part of the thing. And if that's what engages you, then that's great. But I think you're right, Maadstork, like, giving the audience what they need and what they want first, if you are a performing artist, is probably takes precedent over, your own little pleasure session.
But but I think also just for yourself as well, because you want to. If you're here, you're doing poetry, which is different. But I think if you're writing music and you're writing a song, you want to hear it musically. Yeah. That's what you're hearing. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you would do another medium.
Do you? What comes first for you? Is it hook or verse, or chorus or verse kind of thing? Like, is it varied each time, or did it used to be one way and now is a particular way, or
just a lot of pain, a lot of stress, a lot of torture, a lot of self-loathing?
Yeah.
Speaking my language.
A lot of mistakes. Sometimes all I just need is a few little sounds, and then I'll be like, okay, cool, what can I build off this? Or a friend said to me recently, he's like, why don't you just write a song about this one topic? And I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. So then I just wrote like a very kind of straight up. So he gave me the idea and I wrote the verses.
Was that hard?
Actually quite easy. It was actually because he did the hook, so
that makes a lot of sense, because it actually takes so much computational processing work. You've already created this boundary and this limitation and this direction, which is often the hardest thing to find when you're trying to make something, I think.
Yeah, I think if someone can give you the hook, then you're good, because then you've got the idea and you just have to write towards that.
Sure.
Yeah, but that often doesn't happen.
Out of curiosity, going around, I would like to know kind of, is there a go-to place to start? I mean, you asked the question of like hook or verse or what have you, but is there a particular. How am I phrasing this question?
Yeah,
I'm going to give my own example as a way to to pose this question, because I'm looking for like where we all start when it comes to writing a verse, and is it comes from a particular topic and things kind of get planned out, because I've done that in the past where I've actually had Word documents planned out first. I've got the topic and I've got a plan of how I want to structure the thing, and then I write a bunch of words that I think are going to fit in, and then when it comes to writing the verse, I freeze up. I got nothing. Even though I've done all this prep, I've done it, but it's a struggle. And I find the way that 90% of my verses start is listening to somebody else, listening to another rapper or something like that, and just one phrase pops out, and that is crunchy, delicious. There's something about it that just tickles my brain, and I just run with that. Even sonically, regarding not even like what it means, but I like the way that's put together. So then I rhyme with that.
The pattern.
Then the topic is almost decided by line 2 or 3. And they're like, oh, I think I know what I'm writing about now, and then I'll go. Anyone else got a starting point that comes to mind that they go to a lot?
I think there's like pros and cons with every way you do it. Like, there's like great things with starting with a hook. If you have like really strong kind of flavor with the hook, you're like, oh yeah, this is awesome. But then, your bars might be a little bit not as strong as they usually are.
Yeah.
I think, if you have you write to a beat, then you've got good rhythm and things like that. But then also if you write without a beat, then you can get some really interesting sounds and kind of flavors and stuff like that as well. So you can write it all backwards and doesn't, so there's so many different ways to do it. And and
you're not tied to any particular way. It's kind of different most times for you.
Yeah, so I think, I've done all of those things recently. Definitely the most painful one is writing the hook last, which is what I tend to do anyway, so it sucks.
Yeah. I tend to like find the pattern.
Yeah.
The pattern, which is like the bar structure. And then from that, and generally there's like, it's more melody driven than like lyric driven. Right, it's almost not. It almost doesn't matter if it's like a punchline or whatever at that point. But from that, it either gives you an entry to a verse or the essence of the hook. And I find that writing with a beat, without a beat, and then over 10 different types of beats to really find out what is kind of working with your direction.
100%.
What about yourself, Jason? What's your process at the moment?
What's my process? I write words and hope for the best and see what happens. But no, I think, when it comes to a song, I will do verse, hook, and all that dead last, 100% dead last, because I've done good at it, don't know what to do. I'll have...
You got some great hooks there.
Thank you. But yeah, I will... also, I've got a song that doesn't have a verse or a hook whatsoever. Sometimes I just don't want to do that because I'm like, I've got a full song and I've got too much to say, and a verse and a hook is taking up space and time, and it's not for everyone. I understand that. But sometimes it's just fun. Verse and hooks for me are the hardest, and so I'll always put that.
Verse and hooks are the hardest? Hooks are the hardest.
Both. Verses... No, yes.
What else is there?
No, no. Hooks.
Intros and outros. He fucking kills every time.
Wait. Let's go back. Hooks are the hardest. Yes. Hooks are the hardest.
Yeah.
The verses are fine.
Yeah.
I meant chorus, not verses.
Oh, sure.
Yes. Not verses. Hooks are the hardest for me because I'm like, I don't know when to put them in and whatever. Do I really want it? But I'm like learning now that it's actually.
It's good to have.
Yeah.
Do you have a jumping off point though for your verses generally?
No, I just have, I just have a bunch of random shit that I have written and whatever. And
so you kind of like word dump, then edit
a little bit,
and then from that a structure kind of emerges.
Yeah, I gave like 3 different beats, and I was like, all right, this song's nearly done. And then I realized, I listened to a different beat, and I was like, no, these lyrics work so much better for that song. But then I had to because every line was like 2 or 3 syllables out, so I had to like restructure it all. But I'm like, the way this beat sounds, these lyrics work better with that beat. But now I have to restructure the, because the the bars weren't in
Yeah.
sync and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do a lot of rearranging and just sort of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I like that tactic. We were talking about this last night about, I don't know if I've done it very much, if at all, really. Okay, actually, well, no, I've now recently started playing with a band, and I'm moving a lot of my songs to that, and we were talking about last night that you've changed beats behind a lot of your songs,
Mhm.
and you've taken parts of your songs and moved them. Oh, like, no, it fits over better over this beat. It's easy to kind of get married to, this is the song, it goes with this beat, this is how it all's put together. But I think it's a fucking cool idea. I want to do more of it. But
Yeah, and adding to that and kind of joining it with your idea, Jason, of why would you even have to be tied to a particular verse, chorus setup in the first place? I mean, I guess initially what you want to do is just really get down your ideas, your thoughts, what you're trying to convey, and that is the most important thing. And if that ends up being 20 or 24 or 44 bars in a row, then fucking A. I mean, cool. That's the cool thing about hip hop and stuff. Like it doesn't really matter. I've got tracks where it's like 8 bars, then the hook, then 8 bars and the hook, then 8 bars and the hook, like more of a quick change between the thing. And then it gives a bit more like consistency and more opportunity for an audience to jump on that hook that comes up more regularly.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you just want to be self-serving and spit, more than 16 bars in a row because you have more than 16 bars and whatever that is.
I was listening to K Tempest in an interview, and they were saying that, sometimes they're writing something and, it starts out as a song and then maybe it actually ends up being a play or a poem or like part of a novel or something, you know what I mean? So it's a pretty, just going around hearing different approaches, it's a pretty torturous kind of process regardless,
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be. Like, I think it's the kind of thing... It's the kind of thing where, like, after you do try a whole bunch of things and make mistakes, you get a sense of actually what works best for you, and maybe that's and maybe that might not be the same structure for every song or whatever, but it might be like how you get into sitting down and putting things down, and just like you don't want too many barriers that are inside of your control in the way of your process, like it's going to be difficult regardless. Like it's never really easy just to like pump out a track. Sometimes it comes to you in that moment, but I think it's like just figuring out what works for you and not being tied to like, well, this person does it this way, so I have to do it this way.
I think, 100%, man. I think Rye was like, can you do a verse on a song? And, I wrote a verse I thought was pretty shit. And then I wrote another one.
I liked it.
And then I was like, sweet. And then Rye came around where he recorded it. And he was vibing on it. And I was like, sweet. I was like, it's so much easier to write for someone else than yourself.
Totally.
Which is interesting as well. So I think it's like a really good thing just to learn and just to hang out with other people and collaborate.
I guess just
that's a big takeaway.
Take your craft into as many different spaces as possible. So like taking a song, put it to a different beat, taking a thing that is written to music and then moving it into a spoken word space. Find out kind of... I like that comment of it could be a song, but it could also be a play, could be a fucking whatever. And the only way you're going to find that out is just by kind of putting it in different scenarios and finding out what is the core idea, where does that fit best? Where does that fit best?
It's interesting.
I feel like that's a good fucking bow.
Wrap up.
It's a nice little bow on it.
Bobo. No.
Sorry, what was that, Jason?
Listen, my brain stops. My mouth kept going. Anyway, music by Sixpence.
This has been the Vibe Union podcast. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Have a bloody chat.
bloody dumb.
Should have fucking said at the start as well. This is the old bloody host of the fucking show. We should have said welcome. Not welcome, but welcome back.
Did about 40 episodes.
Yeah, 100%. You got us much further than we have so far.
You guys are still on the path, and that's all that matters.
We got to 69. We
Yes.
got to do the
We
69th
had the
episode.
sex number.
Yeah, so that was the best.
That's
the
we
best
didn't
one.
do. Yeah.
You guys top and tail.
Did they just ask for that one?
Huh?
No, that was
No,
Antonio.
it was someone.
Unfortunate.
Anyway,
I guess the stars aligned.
yes. Thank you, Maadstork, for coming. Thank you, Tilly.
AKA Milky Bar Kid.
Milky Bar Kid.
Got an upcoming gig.
Okay. Well, okay. we're doing
21st
this.
September,
Okay.
Bad Decisions, and then I don't know about the next one. We'll see what happens. But Milky Bar Kid official, Nestle Sumi.
Yeah.
What up? I'm a bar slinger. Thanks very much for having me today.
Yeah. Anything you want to say, Maadstork? Any sling that you want to
If
do?
you see me on the street, donate fresh vegetables and fruit. I'd be.
Is it a producer joke?
I don't know where it's going with that, but yeah, I don't know. Rye, when's your album coming out?
Ideally, November 24th.
Am I on it?
Yeah, you're on it.
Sweet.
That's,
That'll be that announcement will come soon.
we have poetry book. We have Patreon.
Yeah, sure. They know that.
All that stuff. Okay, fine. Fuck you.
No, you do
I
the
think
promo.
Jason's
No,
right.
no,
You
no.
should go through the motions.
No, yeah,
Go
fuck
through
you.
the
No,
promotions.
no, we're gonna finish here and we're gonna have awkward silence.
I could do it.
Yeah. Go on.
Thank you for listening this afternoon, this evening, or wherever you are in the world. We are Vibe Union, and this is our podcast. Thanks a lot.
I'm going to soundbite that for every episode.
Is there, why
That's
not?
great.
Yeah, we're doing. Yeah, and you're not gonna get any fucking royalties. All right, stop.
I've been wanting to say that every poetry night.